Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 1st of November. Good to have you aboard, part of the Believe Podcast Network, and presented by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Everything ZASLOW Show 2.0. Brought to you by the best accident attorneys around. I send you them. They're going to get you the money you deserve. Anidjar and Levine, Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. And, of course, with all the major pro sports leagues going on, Monday night, we had a sports equinox. Very rare. That's NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, all going on at the same time. It was crazy. Cats and dogs living together. Well, last of the major pro sports leagues, the NBA, they got started last week, and that means BetOnline is your top spot for all your NBA action. MLB postseason, NFL, college football, NHL in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. Get everything NBA right at your fingertips with the desktop and mobile access for every sport anytime. Head to the BetOnline website today to get in on the action. Don't forget, use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, and that receives your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, we got Heat basketball tonight. We'll talk some NBA. Our pal, SiriusXM NBA Radio, Justin Termini is going to join us. Heat fan hates Justin Termini. They think Termini hates the Heat. I can tell you right now, I've become friendly with him over the past couple of years. He's a good dude. He doesn't hate the Heat. You guys, there are people out there who hate the Heat, like most everyone from Boston. And listen, Termini's from Boston. He's out in LA, but he's from Boston. So I can understand where that hatred comes from. You think Termini hates the Heat. He doesn't hate the Heat, but whatever. We're going to ask him why people think he hates the Heat. Matter of fact, we'll ask him where he thinks he ranks among the most disliked national NBA hosts / analysts as far as the Heat fan is concerned. So we'll talk some Heat with him, but we'll talk general NBA. He's our pal. Trust you may not like him, but I'm telling you, you listen to him on with me, you're going to see he's a good dude. He knows his NBA, loves the NBA. So Justin Termini, SiriusXM NBA Radio, he's going to join us coming up in a few minutes. The Heat are back in action tonight. They are at home. They are against the Brooklyn Nets. Your boy is not going. I don't have tickets, all right? I don't have tickets. I'm not going tonight. I'll be watching comfortably on the couch in the Zaslow Mansion family room. Be watching in my underwear. I got a Johnny Cuba in my hand. You know how we roll. The Heat tonight, they have the Nets, and then Friday they take on the Wizards at home as well. Tonight's only second home game. The Heat's only win was the first game of the year at home against Detroit. They lost all 3 games on the road. Boston, Minnesota, and what was the third game they just lost the other night? Oh, Milwaukee. Yeah. So finally back home, and then they're home again on Friday against Washington, which is a in-season tournament game. That's right. I'm trying to get into the idea of the in-season tournament. I've been honest with you guys. I have a hard time getting jacked up over it, a hard time getting fired up over it. But I think maybe when the game is happening, it's like, all right, fuck it. Let's just win it. Let's win these match group games. Let's get to Vegas for the Final Four part. Let's win this tournament. It's a feather in your cap, I feel like when the game is going on, I may just be like, fuck it, let's win this thing. So I'm not going to sit here and shill and tell you that, the in-season tournament, it's going to be amazing. I'm not really into it right now. But I could see a scenario where, okay, if the Heat get through the group games and they get to Vegas for the Final Four, I'm going to want them to win. And by the way, these games, yes, the game on Friday against Washington, it's a group play game for the in-season tournament, but it also counts. It's part of your regular season schedule. So, yeah, I'm going to really want them to win that game. It's got a little bit of extra juice to it. So, I'm trying to work myself into it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the Heat tonight against Brooklyn, I feel like it's a gotta-have game. It's not a must-win game. What happens if they lose? It's a gotta-have game. We're 1-3. we've had a shitburger start to the season. The Heat fan was super negative going into the year. I look like an idiot because I'm telling the Heat fan, yo, you got the wrong attitude. Like, let's have more of a positive attitude going into the season. Well, our favorite little basketball team is back in action. Like, come on, turn that frown upside down. That's right. You're an 80s kid down here in South Florida. You know where that phrase comes from. Come on, that's Lionel Playworld. Anyway, turn that frown upside down. And the Heat then start this season 1-3 going into tonight. You lose tonight against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's decent. 1-4. I don't need that shit in my life. So this is a gotta have it game. All right, we gotta start. We gotta get the positivity back in the early part of this season because it's been a disastrous start of the year. So that's what we got on the line tonight. Like I said, not going to the game tonight. That's okay. But anyway, Panthers are back in action tomorrow. They're at the Detroit Red Wings. We got Game 5 of the World Series tonight. Last night, 10-7, Texas beats Arizona. Terrible game. Texas was up 10-0 after 4 innings. Game 5 tonight in Arizona. Can Arizona win a game at home here in the World Series? Otherwise, the Rangers, they take all 3 in Arizona, and they win their first ever World Series tonight. Game 5, 8:03 p.m. Game was not close last night. They win 10-7. Rangers lead the series 3-1. So even though Adolis Garcia and Max Scherzer have been removed from their active playoff roster due to injuries, they now have a 3-1 series lead. They're a game away from winning their first ever World Series. So I'll have the Heat game on the big TV in the ZASLOW Mansion family room, World Series small TV, and then we will shift over World Series onto the main TV when the Heat game is over. That's the plan tonight in the ZASLOW Mansion family room. And look, the Diamondbacks are going to look back to that first game. They were up 3-1, 9th inning. Corey Seager ties a 2-run homer. They win it in the 11th. That game right there, like, yes, win a home game, obviously. But that game right there, if they didn't blow that game, it's a 2-2 series right now with Game 5 in your park. Instead, they blew that Game 1. They're down 3-1 now. They're up against it. Now, they did win Game 6 and 7 in Philadelphia to win the National League pennant, but now you got to win 3 in a row. It feels different. I'll tell you what, though. Got to be honest. This World Series, it's been a dud. Been a total dud. 3 of the 4 games have not been competitive. It's been a dud. And honestly, I'm not a huge baseball fan the way that I used to be. I do love the Major League Baseball playoffs. Gotta be honest. This MLB postseason has been a dud. World Series has been a dud. Postseason's been a dud. Outside of Atlanta, Philadelphia, and probably also Arizona, Philadelphia, because it went 7. Outside of those 2 series, the entire postseason's been a dud. You had sweeps across the board in the wild card. 2 out of the 4 were sweeps in the divisional. In the National League Championship Series, Texas beats Houston, but whatever. I feel like there was a ton of juice there. Although it was a long series, so maybe I should take that back. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Arizona, Philadelphia, those were fun. Overall, though, this MLB postseason has not been memorable, and the ratings are showing it. The ratings are horrible for the World Series, which you expected with Texas and Arizona. I'm not going to be someone who sits here and is like, yeah, this is what happens when you open up to more teams. Bullshit. It's better when you allow more teams in. Baseball being the random sport that it is, this could happen where the teams with the best records, I think it's like the 5 best records in the postseason are all out. You know, the teams with the best records, they could totally lose, especially in short series. Baseball is super random like that. But I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo Texas, Arizona. This is what happens when you allow more teams in the postseason. I like allowing more teams in the postseason. I found the regular season to be more exciting in that regard. It obviously helps for a team like I root for, the Miami Marlins. But this World Series and this postseason overall have been a dud. There's no way around that. It gotta be honest. Now, yesterday, the Dolphins, let's get to the good stuff. Dolphins are in Germany. They're getting it going. NFL trade deadline yesterday. Big news day. The big moves, like I was saying yesterday. Could Devontae Adams be moved? Apparently the Raiders were not interested. Could Saquon Barkley be moved? The big moves, though. Chase Young, he was traded Washington to San Francisco. They're clearly in a rebuild scenario. They've dropped to 3-5. Ron Rivera's obviously going to be fired after the season. You have new ownership there. They're clearly rebuilding. Chase Young trade to San Francisco for just a third-round pick. Obviously, amazing trade there for the 49ers. They're going to have to pay him after this year. Josh Dobbs was traded to Minnesota. I was saying, is Minnesota going to trade for a quarterback? They did trade for a quarterback, but it's nothing that moves the needle, you know? I guess for Arizona means Kyler Murray is close to returning, but Josh Dobbs is going to back up Jaron Hall this weekend. He's the rookie from, I think, is it BYU? He's the rookie who entered the game once Kirk Cousins got hurt last week. Minnesota's in a terrible situation. I guess they figure, look, and the schedule is favorable for Minnesota coming up. Maybe they figure, all right, we can hand the keys to Josh Dobbs next week if we don't like what we see with Jaron Hall, and maybe we could still tread a little bit of water. That move doesn't move the needle, though. There was no quarterback out there, I guess, that would have been available that Minnesota could have tried to land to save their season. And the biggest news yesterday, Josh McDaniels, really as expected, fired. So fired. He sucks. Has to be the last coaching opportunity. He was awful in Denver. You remember, he then reneged in Indianapolis. He became their coach, and then he reneged. And now he's been terrible, fired in just the second year. You got to be really bad to get fired in just 2 years. Normally, franchises give you 3. Fired in the second year. I believe he was fired after the second year in Denver, too. Fired second year in Vegas. That was the big news yesterday. Really not a surprise. Now, the Dolphin fan who is disappointed that the Dolphins didn't make any moves at the trade deadline, here's what I would tell you. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I feel like Chris Grier has earned the benefit of the doubt. I know. You're blown away hearing me say that. I feel like Chris Grier has earned the benefit of the doubt. Either that he tried to make a move and it just didn't work out, or he says, you know what? I'm looking at my roster. We're getting a lot of guys back. We're adding a bunch of guys at or around the trade deadline, and they're costing us nothing. I think Chris Grier, who's made monster moves, last year Bradley Chubb before the trade deadline. The year before that, or the offseason before it, getting Tyreek Hill. It's not been a general manager who's afraid of making moves. I can't believe I'm saying it, but if you're upset the Dolphins didn't make a move yesterday, I feel like you got to check yourself, because I think Chris Grier maybe has earned the benefit of the doubt in this spot. Just maybe. And look, let's be honest here. Here's who the Dolphins are getting back. Players, impact players, they are adding at or around the trade deadline and giving up nothing. They're adding Connor Williams, who's been really good. They're adding Teron Armstead. We know how good he is. They're adding Devon Achane. He's been really good. They're adding Xavier Howard, who's now going to be their number 2 cornerback. They're adding Javon Holland. We love him. And they just added Jalen Ramsey. This team did not need to make a move at the trade deadline. Don't be greedy. Don't be a pig. Don't be greedy. This team did not need to make a move at the trade deadline. Before we continue on here, if you're thinking about adding a new car, I send you to the only car dealership I personally endorse. Let me tell you about North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. At North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, if you're in the market for a new car, you go to North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, you walk in the showroom doors, you let a member of their friendly sales team help navigate you in the right direction, because North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, they carry the widest inventory of newest Subaru models on the market. Whatever you're looking for, you want just something fun, a Subaru sedan to get to and from work, you're looking for a spacious Subaru SUV for your entire family, North Fort Lauderdale Subaru is sure to have the perfect model for you. You always get more at North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. Guaranteed most money for your trade and lifetime warranty included on all North Fort Lauderdale Subaru vehicles. You can shop right now wherever you are. Stop what you're doing. NFLSubaru.com. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, conveniently located on North Andrews Avenue, just north of Cypress Creek Road. The building you know and the place to go. NFLSubaru.com. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. So, my son and I are talking about, the trade deadline yesterday. My 14-year-old, almost 15-year-old, loves the Dolphins. We're talking about the Dolphins trade deadline, didn't do anything, no big deal. I turn to him, I say, I think the Dolphins are going to win this weekend. And he says, yes. I go, I do too. I think they're ready. I think the Dolphins, this is their third big game of the year. Lost at Buffalo, lost at Philadelphia. I think they're ready. And they're going to get some of those names that I just said. They're going to get some of them back. They got Jalen Ramsey now. They're getting these guys back in the lineup, and they're going to be fresh. These are impact players I just listed. I think the Dolphins are ready to win this game. They are catching the Chiefs at a good time. Not only is the game obviously not in Kansas City, which is a major bonus for Miami, but you're catching Patrick Mahomes coming off a terrible game, also catching Patrick Mahomes under the weather, coming off being sick in that game, playing in the cold, then traveling to Germany. What kind of shape is he going to be in this weekend? I don't know. You're catching the Chiefs at a good time. I think the Dolphins are ready for this game this weekend. I think the Dolphins are going to win. I think, and look, we have the fraudulent conversation. If the Dolphins beat Kansas City this weekend, the argument should go away as far as the Dolphins being frauds, but you know what the national media is going to say. Game was in Germany. Do it in Kansas City. See, that's the point, though. I think the Dolphins are ready for this game. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. But when you look at it and think, who needs this game more? Go win the game in Kansas City. That's why the Dolphins need this game more. The Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt, right? Dolphins still have a lot to prove. But the Dolphins have shown what they do to the teams they should beat. You look at who the Dolphins play that's beneath them, they leave no doubt. They kick the shit out of these teams. After this week, the Chiefs face Philadelphia after the bye. Both teams have a bye after this game. The Chiefs face Philadelphia after the bye. The Dolphins, they face Vegas, and their next 5 games are super winnable. So you can make the case, Dolphins' schedule is light after this game. The Chiefs face Philadelphia. You can make the case this game is bigger for Kansas City. Because if you're the Chiefs, you don't want to be in a scenario where, hey, we may lose 3 in a row. Could we be sitting at 6-4 after that game against Philadelphia? So maybe you make the case, you know what? Dolphins' schedule lightens up. Chiefs does it. This game is bigger for the Chiefs. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make that case. This game's bigger for the Dolphins. Not only is it time to win one of these big games, but we know we're going to get the narrative that the Dolphins win this weekend, do it in Kansas City. That game was in Germany. That right there. Now that narrative's unfair. It is what it is. But that right there is exactly why this game is bigger for the Dolphins. The number 1 seed in the AFC is so much more important for Miami than it is for Kansas City. Kansas City, yes, they always have the AFC Championship in their backyard, but they get the benefit of the doubt. No one's going to doubt that they can win a road game in the playoffs, even though they never have to. With the Dolphins, they're a different animal playing in Miami. They are a different team in that stadium. This game, if you're going to be the number 1 seed, if you're going to have the bye and then host 2 home games in the playoffs, which we know realistically is the route for the Dolphins to get to the Super Bowl. That starts this Sunday. If you want that number 1 seed, you have to win this game this weekend, because it's not just about beating out Buffalo in the AFC East. It's about beating out Baltimore in the AFC North. It's about beating out Jacksonville in the AFC South. And it's also about beating out Kansas City in the AFC West. All 4 teams, 6-2. If you want to get to the Super Bowl, you have to win this game this weekend, because you have to get the number 1 seed in the AFC. This game is bigger for the Dolphins than it is the Chiefs, without doubt.